the minute that I let that go, I created so much more real estate in my brain for creativity when it comes to my business, when it comes to the podcast, when it comes to my other friendships. And so it just was one of those situations where the minute that kind of the conflict got resolved, I just had so much more peace. And then when I was sitting and doing nothing, I wasn't like trying to figure out a creative way to solve this problem. I was just sitting and doing nothing. So when you're sitting and doing nothing, if you're sitting and doing nothing but thinking about all the problems that you need to solve, you're just sitting and worrying or sitting and stressing. You're not sitting and doing nothing. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to or back to the show. Thank you so much for clicking on today's episode. If you guys are watching on Spotify, there is a video that goes along with today's episode. I have my little recording set up in my living room, and the timing of the recording actually worked out really well because there was some guys doing construction on the pool outside of our condo, and it was like jackhammers and saws and some sort of like electricity thing, and they were making so much noise, and I was just praying the whole time. I was like, okay, I'm gonna prep this episode, I'm gonna get ready, and then hopefully by the time I sit down and record, it will be peaceful. And I think that they went to lunch, so I hope that we can get through this episode in one sitting, and I think that it's gonna be a good one, and I'm excited to chat with you guys today. I took last week off of recording, and we're gonna kind of talk about why in this episode, and then some things that I did to kind of refresh my creativity, prevent burnout, all that stuff. But yeah, I'm excited for today's episode. Also, back to the whole video thing. If you're watching on Spotify, there's a video, and I'm also starting to post the videos on YouTube. So 80/20 has a YouTube channel now. So if you're listening on Apple and you want to watch the video, if you don't have Spotify and you want to watch the video, go to YouTube and check out 80/20 on YouTube. That's kind of like the only administrative announcement that I have for you guys today. I have a lot of ideas and things on the calendar and things that I want to talk to you guys about, but I don't want to overwhelm anyone yet, and I don't want to like speak too soon on things that aren't necessarily completely set yet. But I will say one thing that's really been on my mind recently, and I would love to know your feedback on this. So just shoot me a DM if you guys have a thought or an idea about this. Podmas. Okay, if you guys were around last year, you might remember I did an episode every day of December leading up to Christmas. And I did until, my goal was obviously to do 25 days. I did, I think like 16 or 18 days. And then I was like, I literally can't do this anymore. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm feeling so burnt out. And that's the thing with me and my creativity is like, I'm either all or nothing. And by all, I mean like 110, 20, 30%. Like I'm so far in, or nothing. Like I burn myself out so quickly that I just have to stop and I just can't do anything at all. So I'm in this weird toss up of like, how do I juggle 25 days of episodes? Because that's something that I really do want to do, but then also not burn myself out. So if anyone has like any feedback, or if that's even something that you guys would want to do, I feel like it would be fun to do again. And I definitely have a much more flexible schedule now than I did a year ago, and I'm just in such a much better place. I got an email the other day that was like just something that I did in like November of last year that was very good for my mental health, but it was like, you did this a year ago. How are you doing since doing this? And I'm like, oh, I'm doing a lot better, but that's crazy that was a year ago that I had to go and like do something very specific for my mental health and to like help me. And so it's just kind of crazy like how much growth and change can happen in a year when you really dedicate time to healing and surrounding yourself with people who care about you and taking yourself out of situations that aren't healthy and just working on all the self-love things. It's crazy how much growth can happen. That was like a ton of little tangents, but long story short, I think I can do Podmas, and I think that if I really set my mind to it, we can do it. But I would love to know your feedback. So if you guys listened last year, or if you scroll back, you can listen to Podmas last year and just kind of let me know what you think. What did you like? What didn't you like? What would you guys want to hear more of? I'm thinking that if I did it, they would be short, like 10 to 15 minute episodes. It'd be cool to do all video, but I don't know if that would happen. I don't know, but it's like one of those things that's like, okay, if I really want to do it, I know that I can do it. I just feel like I don't know what to do. So let me know what you guys think. Would love your feedback like I do with any and all things. Speaking of feedback, if you guys do enjoy the show and you like 80/20, something that you can do to help the show reach more people is simply to leave a rating and leave a review. And that really just for some reason helps more people find and listen to the show. I don't necessarily know all the ins and outs of all the algorithms on all the platforms, but I know for Apple, it really, really makes such a difference. So if you guys are enjoying the show, please, please, please take like 45 seconds to rate the show and leave a review. And it just makes such a big difference when it comes to the show popping up on other people's feeds. If you like today's episode, you could click the share button and text it to a friend, or maybe share it on your Instagram stories. I always love to see that you guys are listening to 80/20 on your walks, or when you're like doing your laundry or whatever. Or if you're watching on YouTube, maybe take a picture of your TV screen and your apartment and post it, whatever you guys want to do to share the 80/20 love. It's just a quick little thing that you guys can do to help me out and help the show to reach more people. Real quick, before we get into the main topic of today's episode, I want to share a product that I have been loving lately. And I am not a big product girl. If you guys know me, you know that I'm not a big product girl. I never have been. If you guys used to watch me in the YouTube days, I just never really would share about products or anything. I really don't get that much like PR from brands or anything like that because I'm just not a big product girl. But lately, I have really taken an interest in products. Okay. And I think it's because I'm really, really trying harder to channel my feminine energy. And if you guys have been listening to the show, you know that this has definitely been a journey that I've been on, but I typically live in my masculine energy because I feel like I'm, a go-getter. I like to just work and hustle and do all those things. But so I kind of have to force myself into my feminine energy. And that is something that goes hand in hand with creativity. And we'll talk about that in just a second. But that being said, something that's been helpful in my feminine energy creativity journey has been just taking more of an interest in products and like the girly, like getting ready and like doing my makeup and doing my hair and all that stuff. So 2 products that I have been loving lately have been the Way hair oil and the Osea body oil. I've really been prioritizing my hair lately and just like making my hair healthier. One of my very good friends does my hair, and she was like, girl, you gotta get it together. Like really like checked me. She was like, you have to care about your hair. And since then I was like, wait, I totally do have to care about my hair. And then I just feel better because I spent so much time like not knowing how to take care of my hair. And she's like, it's really not that hard. I'm gonna send you links. Here you go, get healthy hair. And I was like, girl, thank you. So hair oil has been such a game changer. I use the Way hair oil, and then the Osea body oil has been huge too. It's getting colder. I like to use it on my cuticles. I'll use the body oil while I fascia blast, which is like a little, I think like dry brushing, but not. I should have like grabbed it so I can show you guys, but I'll leave links in the show notes if you're interested. But it's basically just like massaging out your fascia to help with inflammation, release tension and stress and all that stuff. So I'll use the Osea body oil for fascia blasting. And then, like I said, on my cuticles, just like all that stuff. So those are 2 products that I've been loving. I'll leave links in the show notes, but sometimes just like going and like playing in Sephora or playing in Ulta and like being girly and like giving yourself a little makeover. Like as silly as it sounds, it truly has helped me just kind of like step back from being like the go. You can take like 7 to 10 minutes in the shower. You can wash your hair. You can use your hair oil and do a hair mask, and like you're allowed to actually take care of yourself and enjoy products. And it doesn't mean that you're materialistic, or it doesn't mean that I don't know. I feel like for such a long time, I always felt like I shouldn't care or that I can't care because I'm too busy to care. But really it's only helped me and only made me feel better about myself and show myself a little bit of love. And it's fun. it really is fun to just like I love being a girl. Like, why not enjoy being a girl, you know? So let's talk about creativity and why creative people need time to sit around and do nothing. Okay. So I am constantly on this journey of going at like 110 miles per hour and then full stopping. And I've kind of just come to terms with the fact that this is how I operate best, and being okay with sometimes I literally just have to stop and do nothing. And it's taken me a really, really long time to be okay with this pattern. And I think oftentimes it comes across as inconsistency, but in reality, it's just kind of how I operate best. I think it comes from a place of being a very introverted person who has somehow become very social in the past few months, and I get really like the social battery drains pretty quick. And I think it comes from being a right-brained person. If you guys are familiar with like right brain, left brain, the right brain is in charge of like all the creativity and ideas and that kind of stuff. And then the left brain's more analytical and logical. And I am not analytical or logical, and I just feel like I generate ideas. But like anything in life, if the pendulum swings one way, it always has to swing back the other way. And that's kind of how I am in my creative cycles. So it's like go, 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 all in. I'm all in every area of my life, and then I retreat back and I'm at zero again. And that's just kind of how things go. But I realized that there are some things that I can do when I go back to zero, when I take time to do nothing. There are some things that I can do to quickly get back to where I need to be, a happy medium, a good middle ground. A few weeks ago, probably like end of September, early October, I was really putting out a lot of content into the world. I was posting on Instagram all the time, Instagram stories like through the roof. I was making lots of reels, and I just was generating a lot of content. I was also at the same time putting a lot of energy into a lot of other people, putting a lot of energy into a lot of my friendships, into a lot of my, just like a lot of areas of my life were getting a lot of my attention, but I myself was not getting any attention whatsoever. I think a lot of creative people get this way. I think a lot of creative people kind of follow the same formula that I do, where like you're constantly outputting, forgetting to input because you're so excited to output. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait, full stop. I can't do this anymore. I'm done. I'm burnt out. Whatever the situation might be, you're like, full stop, pump the brakes, like not necessarily pump the brakes, but like screeching halt, like this has to stop. Beginning of October, I got that way. And then unfortunately, I had a lot of things on the calendar where they required me to continue to show up. And so I showed up, but I knew that I had to take steps back in some areas of my life to be able to show up in others. So I just decided to stop posting on Instagram. I think that I talked about that in an episode from 2 weeks ago, that I'm just feeling like I need to take a break. And taking a break has been one of the best decisions I could have made. I maybe hop on Instagram like to shoot off some DMs. That's how a lot of business gets done. How I talk to a lot of, the people that I collaborate with in this space. But I don't really scroll much right now, and I haven't been posting anything at all. And that has been so healthy because it's helped me to kind of detach from that dopamine that you get from posting, and like reassurance from people and the likes. And even if you try really hard not to care about the likes or care about the validation that social media gives you, how could you not? Like literally, how could you not? And I would find myself opening Instagram stories and like checking the views and like, oh, did so-and-so see this yet? Oh my gosh, I want to see like who hearted the story. Like it's just all those silly little things that mean absolutely nothing. But for some reason, I continued to find validation in that. And when I catch myself attaching to the false realities of social media, I know that I have to take a step back. So maybe I'll do an episode on like a dopamine detox. I've heard that word thrown around a little bit when it comes to taking time off of social media, but I think that might be interesting to do some research on like just the dopamine the dopamine hit that you get from social media and how to kind of just like walk back from that, take a couple steps back from that. Anyway, so decided to just stop going on social media for a little bit, and that's been really helpful. So obviously then I'm, putting energy into the things that I had on my calendar, the events, the whatever that I had to do, but still I just wasn't feeling great. And there was a couple situations in my personal life that were emotionally draining for me. It was one of those situations where you literally talk to every single person in your life about the situation, just searching for some right answer or some piece of advice, when in reality, all that you really should do is go to directly the person that you are talking about and just seek a resolution. And so I think I was carrying a lot of emotional weight and emotional blockage because I was looking for some sort of conflict resolution, and eventually I got it, and that was, good and fine. But the minute that I let this situation go, I'm not even kidding you guys, I had so much more free space in my mind, and I feel like I got my creativity back. So I think for me, I was really, really focusing a lot of energy on the situation or this event or this thing that I had going on, when in reality, the minute that I let that go, I created so much more real estate in my brain for creativity when it comes to my business, when it comes to the podcast, when it comes to my other friendships. And so it just was one of those situations where the minute that kind of the conflict got resolved, I just had so much more peace. And then when I was sitting and doing nothing, I wasn't trying to figure out a creative way to solve this problem. I was just sitting and doing nothing. So when you're sitting and doing nothing, if you're sitting and doing nothing but thinking about all the problems that you need to solve, you're just sitting and worrying or sitting and stressing. You're not sitting and doing nothing. It's not going to happen overnight. Trust me, it's not going to happen overnight. But when you do find a way to resolve the conflict that is taking up prime real estate in your mind, I promise you, you will have so many more creative ideas, so much more peace, and so much more rest when you do decide to take time and do nothing, because you're not sitting on the couch thinking about this specific conflict. So like I said, I kind of resolved a couple pieces of conflict in my own personal life. And then it was kind of like a switch flipped, and I was doing nothing. I was just kind of taking a step back from the creative portion. I was working on my business rather than in my business. So I spent a lot of time just kind of evaluating systems and doing a little bit more of strategic planning rather than actually creating the product, which I guess in this sense would be the podcast, or working on things for podcasts that I consult for, or working on proposals for brands. Instead of doing all that stuff, I was just working on more of I was working on more of the systems of the business, the strategic planning, the long-term goals, that kind of stuff, rather than working on the physical product and the day-to-day operations of the business. And so when I kind of took a step back and evaluated what was working and what wasn't working, and looking at things from a 30,000 foot view rather than kind of being in the weeds, I was able to get a bigger picture of what was going on. And then that also helped with my creativity. So taking steps back and realizing okay, it's kind of all about perspective here. And in order to kind of hit the reset button, I think I need to just look at things from a different point of view, take a couple steps out. Maybe I was kind of getting claustrophobic to some degree. I was just too in it and too busy and too concerned with the day-to-day micro details that I couldn't see the big picture. And that kind of hindered my creativity as well, because I needed to see it from a different perspective. And so taking some steps back, looking at it from a high level view, it was kind of a switch was flipped. And suddenly I realized that I was producing ideas again, and I was feeling more creative than I have in a very, very long time. So when I was writing this episode, I thought to myself, okay, what did I learn? What were some trends that I picked up on from those strategic planning sessions? that I could share with you all? What are some tangibles that I could give to you? Because I never like to just talk and not give you something to do, like something to walk away with. And so these are some things that I noticed in my own life. We kind of talked about a couple of these. Some of these might be newer, but things that I have implemented into my life to spark creativity that kind of go hand in hand with doing nothing. Because you can't really like not do anything, right? Like it's hard to just sit on the couch and be like, okay, I'm bored. Like you have to like do something while you're doing nothing, if that kind of makes sense. So first and foremost was channeling my feminine energy. And creativity is a very feminine trait, okay? And I'm not saying that men can't be creative, because that's not the case at all. But we all have feminine energies and masculine energies, and different activities and different things and different day-to-day operations fall into feminine energy and masculine energy. Your masculine energy is very much like the doer, the provider, the to-do list, the like, I don't know, I think of masculine energy as like the go-getter type of energy. And I think of feminine energy as more of the creative, the flow state, the kind of peace type, like gentleness, that kind of stuff. I typically operate in my masculine energy because I feel like I have to. But in reality, when I operate in my feminine energy, I am always so much more productive than I am when I operate in my masculine. And so ultimately what it comes down to is the fact that whenever I'm feeling out of balance or burnt out, I know that I'm operating more in my masculine and I need to step back into my feminine. So what do? I do the products. I take the shower. I go back to more like flow-based movement styles, whether that's a walk, whether that's yoga, whether that's Pilates, whether that's just like dancing around with my girlfriends in my apartment, or cooking a really yummy meal, lighting a candle, putting on like jazz music, creating like a really chill vibe in my apartment, and cooking a nice meal, getting my nails done, getting my hair done, putting on a really cute outfit, putting on a dress, like literally the most like typical little like girly things that you can think of help you step into your feminine energy, whatever that looks like for you. And so in my own life, when I feel so out of balance, I know that I need to go back to like these girly, typical, think of how you would play as a little girl. Like, would you play dress up with your friends? Would you play with dolls? Like, what did you do as a little girl that made you feel like a little girl? Like, we would like play with makeup. I grew up with two sisters, and so we would just do all these like little girly things. Like, how would you play? Like, go play, go have fun with your girlfriends, go enjoy being a woman. Like, I love that. When I was like 4, I did a dance recital. Or I think I took ballet. It was probably ballet or maybe jazz. I don't know. But I was in dance class as a little girl. And we wore these little pink tutus and we danced to that song that's like, I enjoy being a girl. And I still remember just like a little 4-year-old like dancing up there, like, I enjoy being a girl. And it's so true. Secondly, would have to be turning off outside influences. And this has to do with social media. This has to do with comparison. Unfortunately, one of the downsides of being a girl, and I guess guys deal with this as well, but it's very, very prominent, especially when I talk to any of my girlfriends. Like, this is something that we all deal with. When I talk to you guys on social media, this is something that you guys deal with. We all constantly compare ourselves. And you could be sitting in a room with 10 other women, and I guarantee you all 10 of those women are looking at another girl being like, oh, she's got the best hair, or oh, I wish I, was as good at talking as she is, or I wish I was as whatever as she is. And we constantly compare ourselves. And it's just a very, unfortunately, natural thing to do. It's really hard to like block a thought when it comes in and be like, no, like, we're not going to do this. But you kind of have to be like, wait a second. I love her hair. She's got beautiful hair, but like, just leave it at that. Like, you can admire someone else's beauty without questioning your own. You can admire someone else's intelligence without questioning your own. You can admire someone else's career without questioning your own path and your own trajectory. You don't have to compare yourself. You can compliment, but don't compare. So whether that means getting off of social media, whether that means just complimenting the girl in the bathroom at the bar instead of wishing that you had her outfit, like that kind of thing, try as hard as you possibly can to stay away from the comparison by flipping the script. Another creativity hack, this is just something that I try to implement into my life. Get outside. As simple as it sounds, when I'm feeling blocked creatively, when I'm just feeling kind of off and funky, I think to myself, oh, have I spent much time outside today? And the answer is probably no. So somehow, some way, get outside, even if it's for like a walk, even if it's like opening your windows in your apartment. Maybe you sit outside in the morning and drink your coffee. I know that the seasons are changing and it might not be suitable to go outside all the time. It's like super cold here now, but try your best to get a little bit of sunlight or fresh air every single day. I promise you it will make the biggest difference. I also encourage you to do something outside of your creative bubble. So for me, I podcast and I do a lot of creative stuff online, but I don't do a lot of creative stuff like hands-on art projects. So maybe for me, this is like going to a paint and sip with my friends. Maybe I take a pottery class. Maybe I try a new recipe. Maybe I do something creative off the screen and off of paper, because that's typically where my creativity lives, is like in the digital space. Maybe I do something creative outside. Maybe I build something. Maybe I don't know, just do something outside of my typical creative realm. I feel like when you step outside of what you usually do and try something new, I also think going new places is a great creativity hack. Maybe you take a weekend and go to the mountains if you live at the beach, or maybe vice versa. Or maybe you try a new coffee shop, or you try a new restaurant, or you try a new park, or you hang out with your friend who has a dog and you guys go walking somewhere new that you never had before. And so whatever these, like, just try new things, implement new experiences into your life, because that's where the creativity really will start to shine through. If you're always doing the same exact thing every single day, you're just going to become immune to what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're smelling, who you're talking to. And so try something new, go somewhere new, implement something new into your routine. You'd be really surprised at the results you might get. And then last but not least, if you're anything like me, you need time without anybody around you. You need time to just be introverted, let your social battery recharge, and just like enjoy being alone. And so I really cherish my alone time in the morning. If I don't get alone time, or if I wake up and I'm like having people at my house and I wake up and like other people are up, I get so annoyed. It's not a good trait that I have. I try to be nice in the morning, but like, don't talk to me until I've had my alone time, because I need to like get myself in the right headspace to have a good day. I need to have my quiet time. I need to do my journal. I need to do my devotion. I need to have my coffee, and then we can talk. And it's not that I don't want to be nice. It's not that I'm not excited to have people in my house when I wake up. It's just that I really, really cherish my alone time. And in order for me to fill someone else's cup, I have to fill my own first. So really just taking time to rest, do nothing, get away from people is the biggest creativity hack that I think I could ever give you. And reminding yourself that as a creative person, you have a naturally very active brain. So it's typical to overthink. It's typical to be a little anxious. It's typical to worry. It's typical to have all these seemingly like negative things going on in your brain, but you also have an advantage because you have a very active brain. So you have the power to create a lot of ideas. And when you truly channel those ideas into something good, and channel those ideas into projects, or channel those ideas into people, or into great conversations, or self-development, or improvement, or whatever your active brain is telling you to produce, it can be so, so beautiful, instead of letting your active brain take over and kind of drive you into the ground. And so I think as a creative, it's a very, very slippery slope, because you have the power to generate so many ideas that sometimes things start to become overwhelming and start to be negative. But if you channel those ideas into positive avenues, you have an incredible superpower at your fingertips. Last thing I'm going to leave you guys with is this: your best ideas happen when you're not trying hard. Plain and simple, your best ideas happen when you are not trying. It's kind of the same thing as like people say that a relationship will happen when you're not looking for it. literally the same thing. Like your best ideas, the best projects, the best insert idea thing here that you want to produce, it will happen when you're least expecting it. So that is all I have for you guys today. I hope that you have a little bit of inspiration from this episode to help channel your creativity, help you just kind of get back on track if you're feeling burnt out, if you're feeling overwhelmed. Just know that burnout and overwhelm are products of you overproducing. And know that it's okay to take a step back. That should be your first response. When you're feeling burnt out, when you're feeling overwhelmed, first response is step back. And then you can do all the other things. Then you can go for a walk. Then you can go to a paint and sip. Then you can start to kind of like reintegrate your creativity. But first and foremost, step back, be still, do nothing, be okay with living a slow life. And then you can start to implement those other ideas that I was chatting about a couple minutes ago. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to leave a rate and a review. That just helps more people find and listen to the show. If you guys liked this episode, be sure to share with a friend who you think needs to hear it. Share it on Instagram, share it on TikTok. I don't know. I'm not really on TikTok much, but if you want to like make a cute little TikTok video listening to this, that'd be cool. Send it to me. Yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I love you all so much. I hope that you have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you very, very soon.